can I just say that since you opened this gym, you have been on your content A game nonstop. Like you haven't stopped creating content
Yeah.
every day.
Yeah.
Like I just see so many reels, so many posts, and also the community that you build with your post is crazy.
Yeah.
How do you keep up with so much and
Um,
owning a gym at the same time and training?
Yeah, I mean, it's I guess it's one of those for me. It's I don't know. It's part of the job kind of thing. Is I have the fear of like not being relevant, and
Right.
so I have to. It's a digital world, and so I just
Yeah.
have to stay on content and surprisingly, I have several. There's several people who actually wait for me to post something. They
Really.
need that inspiration, that motivation, that that oh, he is getting up in the morning. If he's doing it, I can do it too.
Yeah.
And so I guess it's more so just I guess being there for someone, and so I have to just keep posting and stuff like that too. And I mean, the gym is my second life, and so my second home, and so where I'm at. Posting the gym, posting the content is in the gym, and so it kind of everything's aligned, and so it makes it a little bit easier.
Yeah. And I see your 5 a.m. post where you're like, let's go.
Yeah.
Let's get up. And I'm like, dang, I need to be doing better. But like you said, you're doing it for other people to also get motivated. So that's really cool. How do you find time? I talk to a lot of business owners and they have so many excuses as to why they can't create content or why they can't put time into their digital presence. So it's cool that you see the value in that. What would you say has been how do you make sure to stay on top of a posting schedule? Because you're not, like, I know you're saying you're already here, so might as well do it, but you're planning out these skits, you're doing these trends. So what are some ways that you actually make sure that you're posting or planning out everything? Because I know they take time.
Yeah. In the beginning, it was very time consuming because I was always I guess trying to make it look perfect. I was like, oh man, this has to look perfect, and I have to get the right angle, and I have to get say the right things, and maybe even present to a specific crowd, or even have I guess an order of like my content. Like I'm posting this kind of content on this day.
Okay.
I think that what made it easier was just removing all of that and just recording and posting. And so the more I did it, the easier and faster it became. And I started really kind of posting based on my personality. If I'm strolling and I see something that's funny, I just want to remake it.
Yeah.
And so I would say, honestly, the best advice is to record it and just post it. I think because it can be time consuming and people put this timestamp on stuff, and so that's what keeps them from like wanting to do more content, because it takes so much of my time, and so I don't want to do anymore, and I'd rather just post maybe once a month or once a week or at the end of the week or the beginning when I may have the most time, and so that's what takes so much of the time, is just thinking that it's time consuming. But if you just put it out there and you just keep putting it out there, it becomes easier and easier, and then just not having to think about an algorithm or any of that stuff.
Yeah.
So, I think that's what makes it easier for me too. It's just if it's, I mean, I do like quality of the video. I think that's why I try to stay with the most updated phone as I can. But after quality, it's really just your personality. And so I think that's what that's what drives my businesses is, they see me through my social media. I've had several people come up, people that I didn't even know who watch my social media, and say, hey Les, I can really see your personality in your social media and what what you're about, and the community reach and stuff like that. And so when I hear that, then I know I'm kind of like on the right track.
Yeah, because you haven't stopped, and there's so many reposts and so many people doing collab posts with you, and it's just constant. You're just very active, which is awesome. And I know, so you opened this location, was it 2 years ago or a year ago?
Yeah, so Space City was, I want to say, like a 3-year project. The first year, which was 2020, I mean, that's when we started the build out and everything. But us actually opening was October 2021.
Okay, I remember I came to the grand opening boot camp,
Yeah.
kicked my butt.
So yeah, it's a two year process. It's been and it's been a really awesome experience for sure.
Yeah, what do you think was a lesson or something you had to overcome or something you learned in the past 2 years from opening a gym up?
I would say a lesson is make good business deals, and that goes from contractors, mostly contractors, and then after you're open, making good like business deals with just connections, with who you know. And so me and John, we've always been the type to not be in competition with any of the surrounding gyms, but more so kind of work together. I mean, there's a lot of people in the world, and just even just in this area. And so we just try to work together, and that has made us stay successful. Is that we work together, even with trainers. Like I'm more of a trainer than I'm an owner. And so with training, like I work together with other trainers. And that's what keeps that's what the larger my network is better for both for both trainers. And so I think that's what it was, is learning to just make good connections, and hold those connections, work those connections. Sometimes with training a lot, it can get dull. And so I miss out on working the connections that I have. And so I've changed that a little bit past couple months.
Okay.
And
How?
so what I did was, this year I didn't bodybuild. And so bodybuilding is selfish. I mean, especially the way that I bodybuild. I'm a professional bodybuilder, so I want to stay completely focused.
Yeah.
And I get paid for it, so you have to. And so this year I took a step away from the stage, to kind of focus on other personal stuff. But one of those personal things was to have more connections, do more business lunches, even if it's not talking about anything business wise, just having a conversation that can go that can go a long ways. You know, you can learn so much knowledge, just one conversation with a random person, and so what I started to do is, with me being booked all the time, it allowed me to kind of make my own schedule. And so along with having that deep connection with the community and my clients, everybody just kind of understands. And I think that's the beauty of just the training that I do, is that all my clients, they see my vision and trust me. And so what I decided to do was train 5 a.m. to noon and 4 p.m. to about 7, Monday through Thursday. And then Friday I take off from training. So I don't train at all on Friday. It's strictly for, going to do something random with maybe a friend or a relationship that I've been needing to just kind of, make better. I have a son, so maybe I can take off Friday and go to San Antonio to go see my son. And so it just opens up the door for me to, maybe if someone contacts me and they want to have, lunch, or just, they just want to meet, I can do that on a Friday. And that honestly paid out like immediately.
Yeah.
I had several directors hit me up to do content with them. And sometimes when I get inquiries like that, I'm training that day. And so taking that Friday off was was definitely needed, and it gets me out of my routine. I'm so routine. And I think that's how the content happens too, is that I'm so used to doing content. So I just want to stay on it. Fridays, when you become in like a routine, you lose track of clarity. Like you don't open up your minds to think a little bit more, think of new ideas or anything like that. So Friday is like my routine.
Yeah, I
Do something
agree.
different. And so Sundays has always been a day where I don't train. And so but Friday is like a day that I break my
It's
routine.
like your social day. This year I've incorporated a lot more social days because I
Yeah.
realized I'm really working on my own inside my head or just working alone and working from home especially. It gets so I don't talk to people or socialize.
Yeah.
So I've also made a point this year to work on my people skills and meeting up with people and having conversations and yeah, it's paid off so well, not only with building my network, but it's very fulfilling too to be around people. But I want to touch on your bodybuilding.
Yeah.
So you said you took a break. What was something that you learned last year from that time period?
From me taking a break. So, I mean, well, me taking a break this year was more so of a personal thing. Like, I wanted to focus because I've been bodybuilding for 5 years. 5 years? 5 years.
Back to back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
5 years back to back. I didn't celebrate birthdays, holidays,
Yeah.
or anything like that. And so last year was my first time having Thanksgiving in
Wow.
4 years.
That's crazy.
And so, and then this year was the first time in 4 years I actually did something for my birthday. Like I actually celebrated my birthday.
Yeah.
And so that was fun. And so this year, I mean, I had a vision or a plan to hopefully get engaged.
I
And
love
so,
it.
with it being such a selfish sport, it's like you can't, right? You can't do both. And so that was one of the main reasons why I took this year off.
Oh my God, I love that.
And so, but that didn't pan out the way I wanted it to.
Okay.
And so yeah, I mean, I'm like single now, so.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. That's what the reason was for this year. Last year doing bodybuilding was the first year where I actually stepped outside of Houston.
Really?
And so I've for 3 years prior to last year, I've only competed in Houston with one organization. And so I didn't really step out of.
What organization?
So at the time it was GBO, GBO
Okay.
Naturals. And so I only competed with them at the time. Last year, I was still with them, with GBO Naturals. And so, last year I was still with them, but this time, I wanted to basically test my competitiveness. Because 2021, I won the world championships, for my category. And
Nice
so
job.
they,
Congrats.
and so after winning that, I was basically just competing with the same people and
Okay.
just winning. And I was like, I want to push I want to know where do I stack up like in the nation. And so that was the goal last year, was to literally step outside of Texas and compete at different organizations, compete with the top guys in the natural world. And that's what I did. And so it gave me an opportunity for those judges to see who I am. And so it gave me the opportunity to kind of learn different types of judging, what they expect, what they, because it's different, and different East Coast, West Coast is just
Yeah.
judges see stuff differently. And so, and then of course, just to see the competition. I made some really good friendships with the men's physique in the natural world. And so if I had to rank myself, I would say top four in the nation, in the natural world.
Nice.
And so that was really good for me to see, and that was eye opener for me, because I was winning a lot locally. And so when I stepped out there last year, I didn't win a show last year. I placed, which is really good. I still got a check and still placed, which is still good.
Really good.
Yeah. And so I think I went runner up in all my shows last year. But that put me at that kind of like, for me, it reset the counter. It's like, all right, now go back to the drawing board, get better at what you need to work on, and fix where you need to fix your physique, right, to match it with the competition. And so that's what also this year was about, is taking a step back, working on a few things on my physique. And then I think at the end of this year, I know at the end of this year, I'm going to hire a coach. And so for the past 5 years, I've always prepped myself.
You didn't have a coach?
Never had a coach.
What the heck?
I had John was my initial coach way back in 2019 for the whole year of 2019. And then after that, it was just me coaching myself.
What?
Yeah.
That's next level discipline.
Yeah, it was just me coaching myself. It was easy because I still eat the same stuff every day. Turkey,
what do you eat?
Turkey, rice, and asparagus. Yeah.
Me too.
It's a lifestyle for me at this point, and so it was a little bit easier to coach myself.
Okay.
But this year, if I want to be something different next year, I have to do something different, and so I'm gonna hire a coach, a full blown competition coach.
Wow,
and so,
it's time.
Yeah, and so I know that I don't know everything in competition, and I want to kind of know what else is out there to learn.
Yeah.
And so that's going to be pretty neat, and I'm going into next year with like not losing a show.
Yeah. That's
yeah.
crazy that you had a lot of years with just self-coaching. How did you learn? YouTube?
So 2019 was definitely a year of me learning a lot. And so I was a bodybuilder before I was a personal trainer. And so with me learning about my body and how important the diet is and stuff, I wanted to basically change other people's lives too. I became a bodybuilder because I needed a lifestyle change. I was Sunday through Monday drinking, partying. Like I was a party animal.
I think that's the time period where I met you.
Yeah, I was
South Padre,
yeah.
Spring break.
Yeah, and so I was just partying a lot, and so it was really like harming my body, but more so it was harming my relationship with my son. And so I put partying as a priority instead of him. And he lives in San Antonio, so it's one of those kind of like easy kind of things. But yeah, after seeing him more and then him kind of looking at me like a stranger, I was like, time to change it up.
How old is he?
He just turned 14 yesterday. I'm sorry, Friday. And so, I was in San Antonio celebrating his birthday. And so, I was like, it's kind of trying to make a change. And so what better way to know that I can't, like, to avoid the party scene and avoid alcohol and stuff like that, is to become a bodybuilder.
To force yourself into the complete opposite.
Yeah. And so I've always been the type to kind of cold turkey a lot of stuff. Like I just go straight in and just either end it, start it, whatever it is. And so I was like, why not do that with a lifestyle change? And so when I went through that leveled up so many different aspects of my life. And so, and that's why I bodybuild now. Like I don't create a career out of bodybuilding. I bodybuild now to just find a different level of myself.
To keep yourself on your toes.
Yeah. And then if I ever feel like some aspect of my life is kind of falling off, okay, it's time to bodybuild, because I know that once I'm this disciplined and this consistent and this focused, everything else is kind of. And so that translates with fitness and health and fitness. And so, that's why I became a personal trainer. I started getting my certifications, and just really kind of knowing everything to do with personal training. I mean, honestly, personal training is more of a business thing than anything. And so, but I don't lose track of just my heart in it. And so that was like my route from bodybuilding to personal training.
Okay.
And stuff. Yeah.
Do you think how you quit cold turkey and went straight into bodybuilding, from one extreme to the other, do you think that works for most people, or is that just your personality type, or what have you seen from training other people?
I definitely don't. I don't think it works for a lot of people. I think me doing that has a lot to do with like childhood trauma. Like
really,
I don't have a plan B. And so it's either like this, whatever I do, it has to be plan A. It has to work. And so I think that's just been my mentality with things, is that I have to do it, and it has to work. I don't have I kind of use I burn the ships, like mentality. Like go out there and burn the ships. There's no turning back. And
Yeah.
so, and that's basically how like my childhood trauma was. It was like, oh man, like, cause I've been in CPS like all my life. And so it was like, man, I have literally nowhere
No
else
choice.
to,
Yeah, nothing to fall back
Yeah.
on. Yeah, I think that's what I think that's what ignites me in my work is that I never had a backup plan either. I didn't
Yeah.
really have anyone to rely on. So it's like you either do it or you can't not do it.
Yeah,
Actually,
yeah.
there's no choice.
Yeah, I mean, it's either. I mean, you're because you burned the ships, right? There's no turning back. You just try to figure out another way to get it done.
Yeah.
And so whatever it is, you just has to get it done. And so you just maneuver.
Yeah.
There's no going back. And
Sink
so,
or swim.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And so, but what I do is extreme as far as like bodybuilding and stuff like that. I don't. That's not how I train. I mean, I maybe have throughout the year 2 or 3 competitors at a time. I try to stay in my lane. My lane is lifestyle change. My lane is weight loss, which most of the time correlates to lifestyle change.
Yeah.
And so, but that's my lane. That's my why of like training. And so, what I do is extreme. And so my approach, I don't force that upon anyone. How I approach it or approach bodybuilding or approach working out or anything like that. And so, but I do approach everything with a sense of like discipline.
Yeah.
And so that part is across the board. And so, but it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. I mean, if it was easy when it comes to lifestyle change and weight loss, man, everybody would be healthy.
Yeah, I know.
And so, but yeah, it's I don't think there's that many.
Was there, going straight into bodybuilding, was there ever times where you how would you bring your, like, was there ever times where you would fall off track, and how would you bring yourself back?
If I've fallen off track, it will be something where I think the only way where I've fallen off track is if I've gotten overwhelmed.
Okay.
Like there's so many moving pieces.
Yeah.
And it always happens. And it always happens somewhere between 4 weeks and peak week, where just everything collapses. Like, I'm talking about from relationships to business to just everything collapse. I mean, as a trainer and a bodybuilder, like, you don't hold, well, statistically you lose clients because your focus isn't clients, right?
Really?
Your focus isn't, I mean, for me, my focus is to just kind of keep what I have, not get more, because my main thing is bodybuilding. And
Yeah.
so obviously you lose clients, and then that's like a domino effect, right? And so less clients, less money, bills, like it's just everything just kind of
Yeah.
like stacks up, right? And so when I do fall off a track like that, I tend to kind of count my blessings, pray a little bit more, take a cool down. Like, okay, let me just. I'm such a extrovert that I actually have to like separate myself from the noise.
Really?
Like, let me just.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Let me take myself away a little bit, and I only need maybe a few hours. It's not a long time, but like I only need a few hours to just kind of just separate myself from all the chaos, all the noise, and then go back in it. Because surprisingly, like chaos is I don't know, it's stimulating. Like it's like a problem that I need to solve. And
Okay.
I'm a big problem solver.
That's a really good way to put it.
So once I've calmed down and kind of think about everything, then I'm ready to kind of attack it back. So that's kind of how bodybuilding is that once everything is just kind of going crazy, okay, let me just take a cool down lap. Like I want to say last year, there was a time, my second show in Minnesota, just everything was just going crazy. And so I literally got home about 1 a.m. And I jumped the fence of the pool for one of my apartments and just sat there. I just sat there before I went inside the house with girlfriend, 2 dogs and everything, right? And so I just sat there for a good like 3 hours. then I was
Wow.
okay. And so yeah, I do take a cool down lap. Things
Okay.
get out of hand.
How do you talk to your clients whenever they fall off track? What's something that helps them?
Well, first, I look at the stats, like, numbers don't lie. And so I'm real big on, showing the numbers, like, hey,
Tracking things?
yes, yeah,
I
like,
love
hey,
tracking
this is where we're
things.
at, or this is where we started, and this is where you're at now.
Uh-huh.
How do you feel?
Make them answer.
Yeah.
What is your style? Do you have them count macros and track their workouts?
Yeah. I'm not a fan of any kind of fat diet, keto,
Yeah.
but like all those, I'm not a fan. I'm a fan of like balanced diet, macro dieting. That's how I make the meal plans. I make everyone's meal plans based on whatever their current macros are and goals are, and then macro adjustments. And so it's how I tell anyone that's looking to even train with me. I give them kind of like two options. Like, hey, here's the meal plan that's gonna have your macros. This is like the fall off, the fallback plan. Like, if something doesn't work out, like, get back on your meal plan. Or I teach them how to count their macros, how to track their foods. And so when they figure that out, and so they can either learn how to track their foods based on the macros that I give them, or their meal plan. And so if it's not working out with them tracking their foods, then they can get back on their meal plan. And so,
Yeah. I feel like that's easier is being told what to eat every day versus when I count my macros and I'm freestyling through the day, doesn't always end up how I want it. So I feel like
yeah.
preparing ahead
Yes,
always
yes.
works a lot better.
Yeah, I think a trick to that would be because I get that too, where they it's like they want something different, because they maybe they're tired of their meal plan, but then tracking it gets like confusing and like, oh, like I'm like kind of living my day like that, right? And so I always tell them to what they can do is like prepare. So let's just say on MyFitnessPal, you just stroll to like the second day and just put everything in that you want to eat for that day.
Yeah.
And then you wake up in the morning, you're like, oh, okay,
Like I already know. That's
yeah,
what I do.
so you can do that for the whole week. You can say, this is what I want to eat on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday I have an outing, so this is what I'm gonna eat on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and so on. And so that's what I've learned that in bodybuilding, because I will always like till this day I still measure my food out.
Yeah.
And so, but I would track it like the day before. So
How
that may
did
help.
so you didn't celebrate anything in 5 years? Like did you do like dinners with friends?
Nope.
No birthdays.
Nope.
That's insane.
Nope. Yeah. I mean, during my bodybuilding career and personal training career, the more I elevated, the more friends I lost. And so my circle now is very, very, very small, like 2 or 3 people.
Yeah.
And so I didn't really have a lot of people to really celebrate with. And so it wasn't like I had to, send out invites or set something up or anything like that. And so the people who kind of supported my whole bodybuilding career and me being a personal trainer, they kind of already knew, like, oh, okay, it's your birthday, like, here's a rice cake. I had one client, he got me like 4 packs of like gallons of water. And I love that, because it was like everyone around me who I affiliate with now kind of supports what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And so that was pretty good.
That's awesome.
When that happens, when that was going on, I actually kind of looked back at like 2019. So 2019 was like my rookie year of bodybuilding, and I had a support system, but like all of my support system was the same people that I partied with day in and day out. And so I looked back at my pro debut, where I had competed in Austin, and my pro debut show was on my birthday.
Wow.
And so and I'm thinking back, right, and I had like maybe 20 people come down, 20 friends.
Wow.
And there was one Airbnb. Everybody stayed in the Airbnb, and so and they all came to the show, but I lost the show. I didn't win. And so the focus was completely different, right?
Okay.
And so I rather this kind of support than back then, because it was, I mean, my main focus there wasn't to win. My main focus was like, I can't wait to be done, so to go party. Yeah.
My best friend Star, she's a bodybuilder, and she's on year 2. She's about to do her 3rd competition.
Yeah.
And I feel like seeing her grow, and we did the whole Airbnb and the party thing, but I am seeing her a lot less now, and we're still really close, but I love seeing her say no to all the hangouts and say no to the dinners and not feel pressured to want to do things with us anymore. And it's inspiring me to say no to things now.
Yeah.
I'm on a little sober October kind of. I drank for Halloween, but other than that, I'm like, okay, I don't need to drink anymore. I don't. Yeah, and it's motivating to be around people that are also have similar goals as you. And I like drink my gallon of water every day.
Yeah.
And a lot of people make me feel like a weirdo for it. So it's nice to have my friends that get it.
Yeah, stay with the gallon. Like I still walk around, the gym with my gallon like every day, and so. But yeah, like that's really good for her. And the longer the longer I do it, the more I guess the more I can adjust, like make adjustments. Like I think last year was like my biggest adjustment, where my close friends, they had dinners and birthdays and stuff like that too, and instead of saying no, I would just let them know like, I'll come, but I'm gonna have my meal prep with me.
Yeah.
And so that took a lot to adjust to as well. But it was still rewarding, because they seen it as, oh, okay, like he actually does like still, so because you still want to be able to support your closer ones too, and so and so that helped out. But I had to kind of like learn all that. Because I was missing out on like everybody else's celebration, and so bodybuilding is selfish, but I didn't want to be like that selfish.
Yeah. That's good that you have your time periods where you're now intentionally saying, okay, this is what it was, and now I'm gonna do this now. With personal training, we were speaking earlier about how there's so many misconceptions about personal training, and that kind of surprised me, because I feel like, I guess the people I'm around and the trainers that I've been around are pretty cool people, so I never would think that there's a stigma. But what are some things that you feel like people are from the outside in would see?
I mean, the stigma for like trainers is like, I thought that it wasn't until I got more into personal training, because the trainer world is huge, but it's small at the same time. Like word gets around like fast, and so like the stigma for trainers is oh man, you have a personal trainer, like, oh y'all sleeping together, like all this stuff, and like, and it's crazy, and it's still a stigma, and I hear it a lot now with clients who have like guys or girls that are talking to them, and so for example, there's clients that will come up and like talk to me and say, hey, you wouldn't believe what I went through this weekend. I'm like, oh, what happened? Well, this guy I'm talking to, he drilled me about you. I was like, what? And so like it still goes on, and I'm like, oh man, like I really wish that like we cannot do that, but but it doesn't get better, because there's still trainers out there that are that way.
Actually, I dated one of my trainers.
Oh.
And I didn't see anything wrong with it at the time, but
and it depends on everyone's intentions.
Yeah.
Right? And so I mean, for example, John and Myra, they met in the gym. I don't believe that John was her trainer at the time, but they're the same gym. Like she was getting trained by a trainer there. And so it depends on like your intentions and stuff from it. If your intentions are very pure and like everything is like on the up and up, then like that's good.
Yeah, but if you're like training to find love,
Yeah,
that may not be.
man, like and even more so like for trainers, like if you just want to train this person just to one night with this person, like that's not very pure. And so but it sucks that that's a stigma, because there are like literally and maybe this is why I have more female clients than male clients, because females they're, well, first and foremost, y'all are much more committed. Sorry guys, but like they are like, and I even speak on a guy too. Like I can't speak for other men, but just females are just a lot more committed. And I'm not saying like y'all have more problems, because guys have more problems, like legit, like, but like when ego comes into play, like they're just not as committed. And so, but for female, like y'all come to the gym to literally work on yourself.
Yeah.
And so I feel like trainers disrespect that when it comes to training female clients, and they lose that, and that's bad business.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I mean, I just that's just not my forte. Like,
Now that I think about it, I have seen the memes where it's like you're at the personal trainer with your girl at the gym, and it's like, yeah.
yeah. And so, but yeah, that's one of the stigmas. Another one that's a big one in the industry, the personal trainer industry, is that like it's a dog eat dog world, and it doesn't have to be. Like trainers are, especially in gyms, like we do things here different at Space City. Like,
What do you mean?
our trainers, so like in the industry, other than like your corporate gyms, like, yeah, you're gonna have the trainers there and they're corporate employees, right?
Yeah.
And then with private gyms, you have trainers who are basically the norm, that are rent trainers. So your trainer comes into your gym, they pay you rent, and that's it. And so but nothing is built between trainer and gym, or gym and client, or gym and member, or anything like that. And so here we do it differently, where we hire trainers, and there's a percent, like there's a percent cut, like there's one price, and gym gets a percent, trainer gets a percent. And so we do it that way because we find that it builds culture, and that's what we've grown our member based on culture. And so we're both like, it's a win-win for each other. We're both in the same bed, for like fighting for like the same kind of goal, kind of thing. And so but we build culture together, and I think that's a lot better for the gym, instead of like, you don't know who's coming in and out of like your home.
Yeah.
And so because we build it that way, I mean, we're pretty close. And so I think that even I've interviewed trainers that didn't want to work here, because we're so close. And so and I'm okay with that, because that means that we probably wouldn't have meshed as a team. This person probably wouldn't have been a team player, and maybe they know that they don't want to be that close with anyone here. Like I've seen it. Like I still interview trainers, and we're very transparent on how close we are. And that, we will, do team bonding stuff. We will hang out. We will help each other out, and help each other get clients, help your client, and we'll help each other to be better trainers. Like, that's just how we do it here. And that's not the norm at other gyms, other private gyms. Like, it's a dog eat world, and it's crazy. And so we do it a little bit different here.
Some gyms are very intimidating from as an outsider looking in, but your gym looks very friendly and very the culture is there. It's very welcoming and fun. And I remember coming in for the boot camp, and it was like everyone was so nice and talking to each other. And I don't know, like, I feel like with how working out and like fitness has evolved because of Instagram, and everyone wants to be a gym rat, and everyone wants to, which is good. It's a positive, but I think a lot of like clickiness and also cockiness comes with that too, and a lot of ego comes with it too.
Like with people are wanting to, when they have more fitness in their life.
Yeah.
Or like the influencers kind of thing.
Yeah, like the influencer world and fitness.
Yeah, I see that a lot too. And so I try to not really avoid it, because I still like to, like when I stroll, I still like to see fitness.
Yeah.
And so, but I see it a lot where trainers, clients, they just kind of chase clout a little bit.
Yeah.
And so, but you know, I like I say, everyone has their lane. And so if that's that person's lane, then I would say the thing is, I like to see consistency. Like if all right, if you're gonna chase clout, chase clout. Like if you're gonna be this type of a trainer, like just be that type of trainer. When I see it going like in and out, and I'm like, like that's a lot of inconsistency.
You're
like,
right.
And so I think I've been really heavy on just whatever my lane is like that's the lane that I'm going. And so I think that's that's what I'm heavy at. I like when we just double back on like content wise, I feel like my following is very organic. And so I love that part of like my social media, and just I guess just IG of it is just that they're really organic.
Yeah.
And so I try not to get into the lane of let me get the most amount of followers and connect with like these big time people on Instagram and stuff like that. And so I try not to follow that lane. And so, I mean, obviously if someone huge on IG contacts me, and then I'm like, yeah, like that's good. But I still just would stay in my lane.
Yeah. I think it's respectable whenever someone is consistent and commits to whatever they're portraying. So going back to the social media thing, because I feel like I was so active in social media for several years because it was part of my work. But as soon as I started being more social and I got in a relationship, and I just stopped posting and I stopped being active. And even though it's literally what I do, it was hard for me to balance a social outside life and a relationship and also posting online. So I think I need to work on doing both, being present in real life and also on social media, because as soon as I pay attention to my real life, then I stop doing the online.
You know, I think for most people it's really hard to intentionally have like an intentional imbalance. And I think that's important for anyone on social media, for any business, right? And especially if you have like these huge goals for yourself personally, for yourself like business wise, is that somewhere down the line you have to create an intentional imbalance. And you have to have a support system behind it too. And so if you have a support system behind it, and then you have this intentional imbalance, then you can you'll get somewhere, right? And so I purposely create an intentional imbalance for myself. So let's just say for 90 days, like there's one focus that's number one, and I just go hard for 90 days. But I let other priorities know, like, hey, give me 90 days. Like let me just tackle this, get ahead for what I need to do for this first 90 days, and then my priorities will change. And so then whatever was number two for those 90 days now becomes number one. All right, 90 days with this, and then whatever is that number that was number one, then maybe go back down to number three or whichever. And so creating an intentional imbalance is like important. And so if you do that with support, and then obviously like curating it with other priorities too, I think it'll kind of work out a little bit.
I like that word, intentional imbalance, because I feel like whenever people think about a lifestyle change, even though it should be permanent, I think it scares people to think that now this is like the only way to do things now, instead of saying, let me focus on this for temporarily and work on it and then switch. So I think the idea of a lifestyle change being permanent is what causes people to fall back on their new routine or new workout or new eating habits.
Yeah. I mean, and I guess I kind of enthuse that in clients too, especially newer clients. Someone that absolutely never trained me or anything like that is that I always let them know, like, hey, like for the next 90 days, let's go hard right here for the next 90 days. Let's focus on you and yourself for the next 90 days. Let's put you as a priority for the next 90 days. And that sometimes that's important for, let's just say the mom, right? The mom of, husband, kids, and stuff like that. And so she's put so much into them where she kind of lost track of herself. And so for the next 90 days, like, let's just focus on yourself. And I promise you from there, because when you create an intentional imbalance, it does level up other aspects. It's just that you just have this one focus right now. And so you can learn so many different like things, like when you're focusing on one thing, that you can use for your other priorities. And so when it's time to, change priorities, then you have so much in your, like, more in your arsenal to just kind of do. And so, I don't know. I think that's where this year has been really eye-opening, is that however I treat my life, like, that's what I attract. And so however I am, like, that's how I attract. And so, I can't really say like I have a niche when it comes to training, but that's what I attract. Like if they want to basically like point and say, hey, like I want to do what you do, like basically, then that's a client of mine. And so yeah, intentional imbalance for sure.
That's awesome. Would you ever train a bodybuilder?
Yeah.
Or have you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've just recently trained Carlin. He competed out in Dallas just recently.
Nice.
And so and he won his class there. And so I've trained, I want to say six bodybuilders.
Nice. And I saw recently that the ladies that you've been training, they competed in a...
Yes. And so that if I set aside like so bodybuilding, like outside of transformation, I've trained those 4 ladies, and then about 3 more. And so, yeah, I guess you can call them bodybuilders too, because it was at a bodybuilding show. And
yeah,
so,
that's awesome.
Yeah. And so
Cool.
that was really rewarding too, is to watch those ladies kind of like commit to something that they've never done before, like getting on stage in front of like hundreds.
Yeah.
And so, but ultimately, like the discipline that they kind of like had to do was like, that's heartwarming for real.
How long was the transformation period?
For them, 3 to 4 months.
Okay.
Yeah, 3 to 4 months of just me staying on top of them, the training in itself. I don't really, unless it's like some serious injury, like you have some pre-existing injuries, I don't really baby in training.
Okay.
I don't baby a lot of people in training. It's there because there's a method to it, right? At some point you have to kind of like push past your threshold, like your pain, because then that kind of builds character, right? And so if you never push past something, you will never know how far to go. And so that's ultimately why I train how I train. Obviously there's levels to it. Like I'm not gonna come out the door and say, okay, like go all in. No, like wherever your level is at, that's the level that I'm pushing you past. And then once we level up, then you're gonna always keep pushing past that limit.
You meet them where they're at.
Yeah. And so yeah, I mean, I train a little hard.
What style of training do you have them do? Is it mainly boot camps, weightlifting?
A little bit of everything, and it's still goal specific. If it's someone that wants to get stronger, then that's obviously a little bit different. A lot less of like HIIT cardio and stuff like that. Primarily, it will be doing circuit training,
Right.
but circuit training based on your goal. And so if it's someone that's If it's someone that's overly obese, I mean, we can't do a lot of HIIT because I mean they just can't jump, right? And so, so maybe we do a little bit more circuits training, a little bit higher reps. And so if it's someone that's overly obese, then honestly, my focus isn't really on the training; it's on their diet.
Yeah.
Because they've already kind of failed themselves with that, and so it's my focus is to kind of like help them get back up on the diet part. And so if it's someone that's like they come in and they just want to do a lot of HIIT training, sometimes I have to slow them down because they've been doing all their workouts like at a high level and they've just plateaued, and so I have to slow them down a little bit. And so it just depends on the goal, on the style of training. So whatever the goal is, because let's just say if it's someone that's used to like HIIT training, their hard is slowing down, and so I have to slow them down, and so they see it as really, really hard.
Oh.
And so they're like so
Like going back to basics and doing more
more
slow
muscle mind
weight.
connection. Sometimes muscle mind connection is can hurt.
Yeah, I actually didn't realize, I didn't see results until I slowed down and actually thought about the movement. And
Yeah.
I feel like I didn't start training correctly until I actually focused on feeling the muscle. But I didn't really feel the muscle I was working until I built a little bit of it. So maybe like a year into weightlifting, I was like, oh, I didn't know this movement was supposed to feel this way. So, but as far as whenever you get a client and they're working on their diet, I'm sure there's a lot of mental discipline that goes into that. So what is something you would say to a client that is having a hard time with dieting, and not dieting, but their new eating habits?
Yeah. Sometimes I tell them that we kind of take it like habits at a time, like one small habit at a time. And so whatever your main bad habit is, let's like start reducing it like a little bit at a time. For example, I have a client who's I mean, he was maybe 4% body fat. And so his main goal was to build like he needs some muscle. Like he was he needed some body fat on him. But his main thing was to eat, and it was hard for him to eat. And so, but it was hard for him to eat because he's always smoking. And so, and so that was the habit that we had to kind of change, is that, okay, like, I know you're a pack a day, but like, let's try to reduce that to like, start eating your food. And then, let's reduce that to, I don't know, like a pack a week or so. If I just went all the way in and say, just stop smoking, like they're not gonna follow anything. And so I think approaching it like one habit at a time helps out with the diet. I start the habit changing early, before they're even my client. Most of the time, I tell someone that wants me to train them, is I tell them to start with cutting sugars, cut dairy, and add more water. And just those three habits right there will change like how they kind of like approach the diet. And then I kind of use it as like, if you can do those three, we could possibly work together, because that's what training is really, is like, if we can mesh, then I feel like we have a high chance of like getting to the goal.
Okay.
And so I kind of like throw that out there a lot. Is like, if you can do these three things and then send me a picture, because perception is reality, I think we can work together. And so,
do you make them send pictures of every meal?
In the beginning, and so that's the habit part of things. If let's just say if I know that they are always cheating like on their meals, I tell them to send me the bad.
Yeah.
Like, send me the bad picture. And I guarantee you, at some point, you'll get tired of sending a dirty burger.
Yeah, I do. I take pictures of my food to look at later, and I have a little diary where I upload them. And every time it's a bad meal, I'm like, oh, I don't like that picture.
And so changing that mentality and that habit is it'll kind of forces like, okay, like let me just see how my meal plan is.
You have to sit with it. Yeah. What is your reason for cutting dairy and sugar? Because I have seen some controversy with sugar in the bodybuilding world specifically. And right now my friend Star, her trainer, says he's okay with natural sugars. Yeah. So what is your
take? It depends. Once again, everything kind of goes back to the goal. If it's a weight loss thing, I mean, most sugar sits right in the belly.
Yeah.
And most females, they come in and I want to lose the belly and grow the glutes. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
what's your diet look like? I like Starbucks, and there's tons of sugar in Starbucks, right?
Yeah.
And so, but sugars kind of ultimately sits in the belly, and so a lot of people eat a lot of sugars and not know that they're eating all the sugars. A lot of fruit has like high sugars, right? And so, but a lot of fruit can be good and still are good. In the bodybuilding world, sometimes sugars are okay. The right sugars is good for a certain kind of pump. And so the thing with bodybuilding is that there's a lot of manipulating. And
Yeah.
so sugars help with that. Salt and sodium help with that. Obviously carbs will help with that as well. And so there's a lot of manipulating. And so it depends on where you're at the point of your prep. You know, if you're at the beginning of the prep, I personally wouldn't recommend a lot of sugars. If you're at the end of your prep and maybe you need to fill out a little bit more, maybe you need to because you have a short period of time to like show exactly how your physique look.
Yeah.
And so sometimes quick sugars help with that, like sweet tarts or any of those like dextrose, like quick sugars, those carbs that can get to your body, your bloodstream quick, will help on how you look on the stage for like 2 seconds.
Okay. So is that what you would do before a show?
Honestly, in 2019, I did. And so every prep is different. Like every prep, your body changes. And so, the more cleaner my body is, the more it rejected a lot of stuff. And so everything that I used to do in 2019, I can't do now. Like, now I have to keep it as clean as possible because my body is just different. And so now I don't. But some of those manipulating and why sugars here and why salt here is what I'm looking to learn whenever I get a coach. And so I'm sure, and I have to approach it with an open mind. I have to
Because you've been so
yeah. And so
on
I've been this year. I've been really like focusing on like approaching things with an open mind, and so that's one thing that I'm gonna have to. Okay, all right, like all right, eat what? Like okay, and so we'll see. But yeah, when it comes to most of my clients, the reason I say cut sugars and cut dairy is because sometimes they overdo it.
Okay.
Dairy is just your cholesterol levels really with dairy, and so it's good to sometimes have dairy, but on a cholesterol level. Like if your cholesterol is too high, then that in return turns into fat. And so and so a lot of people don't watch like their visceral fat, which sits in the abdominal area. And so visceral fat, that's like high risk of like diabetes and cancer and like all this stuff. And so
would you say you're anti-egg yolk? Are you anti-egg yolk?
Egg yolk?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
No. Those are good fats. Those are essential fats. And so I would quickly put an egg in a meal plan.
Yeah, I love eggs, but a lot of bodybuilders cut the yolk, like they only do the egg whites.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. So for the most part, from what I believe, is that they cut the yolk so that they can have more protein.
Okay, less fat.
Yeah, less fat, more protein. So they rather save the calories for the protein.
That makes sense.
Because I'm getting a little technical, but there's 9 for every 9 gram for every 1 gram of fat. There's 9 calories.
Oh wow.
And so if that yolk can be a lot of calories compared to 4 calories of the protein.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Nice. What's like something crazy that you would do before a show? I've heard people drink like a glass of wine or take a shot of liquor before they go on stage to dehydrate.
Yeah. I mean, all of that stuff, I literally probably cut out from doing like the last 2 years.
Like all the fad
Yeah,
stuff.
all because the thing with in the natural world is that you're tested. And so when you're tested for stimulants, you're tested for THC, you're tested for obviously PEDs and steroids and stuff like that too. And then sometimes some pre-workouts get your levels too high. And so if you fail, they don't really care like what you took, even if it was natural. Like if I drink coffee too early right before I go on a show, I can fail a test.
That's crazy.
And so for me, I just rather cut it all out. Like I just rather just give me my meal. And I mean, right now I would eat a whole meal before I go on stage, because that's what my body would fill out from. And so I'm eating food throughout the day. And so yeah, but before 2020, oh man, I was doing all that, shot here, shot there, and just to kind of calm the nerves and stuff like that too. And so, but I mean, this next year I'm approaching everything a lot different. Like I've gotten a Hot Works membership, just to go pose in the sauna, so that so that my body can be under extreme like heat.
That's cool.
And so that I can find a way to like relax under pressure kind of thing.
That's awesome.
And so I rather do that. I don't know. I don't know. It's, for lack of better words, I have a hard on like doing stuff the hard way. Like I'd rather do it the hard way, rather than like finding an easy way out. Like for example, I'm not a fan of kind of cutting corners. Here's a pet peeve of mine. It's like a parking lot, right? And you wanna go around the stoplight. Cool, you can go through the parking lot. That's already a shortcut. You can go through the parking lot, but the parking lot's empty. So are you cutting through all the lanes? Or are you like, you know what I mean? Are you cutting through the parking lot? Or are you like going like in the square, right? And so I rather go through the square. I rather not cut through the parking lot. I have a big pet peeve of like people cutting through the parking lot, because it's a shortcut. Like it's like like you're already kind of and so it's the parking lot thing that's like, yeah, I don't know, it's like I'd rather take the stairs and the elevator. I don't know.
Long way. I think that's how you build self-respect, is doing the hard things and making sure that you're pushing yourself every day and getting uncomfortable, and that's how you grow. So it's really important. For 2024, what do you have planned?
2024, I'm gonna have a strong focus on bodybuilding. I plan on probably starting my prep in December.
Okay, wow.
So yeah, it's gonna be soon. I haven't did a prep this long since 2019, and so I think in 2019 I did 300 plus days, prep the whole year.
Oh wow.
And so I'm starting in December. I'm probably gonna do a local warm-up show, work out the kinks around like April, and then I'm gonna do 2 big shows in May and June in Florida. Still stay on prep, but kind of like relax a little bit. Hopefully have my qualifications doing those shows, and then I'll do like championship series come like the end of the year. So October, November. Yeah, all the championship shows are at the end of the year, and so it's like you have to stay on prep like the whole year.
Yeah. Have you found a trainer yet?
I haven't. I have my eyes on a couple of them, and so I'm real big on making sure. I don't know if we're gonna mesh, and so I can only go by what I hear. I've had people who've trained with certain trainers, because I compete naturally. I'm real big on like not wanting trainers to like push PEDs on me. Like, oh, you have good genetics, you may look good this way, or have you tried this organization and this and that? And if I try this organization, then of course I know the route that takes. And so I don't want to do that. Like, I don't want to have to put myself in that situation to say no. And then that becomes a situation, right?
Friction,
and so, and like the friendship and stuff like that can change. And so I've been really like watching other like competition coaches online and what they're about and their morals, and been asking around a little bit and stuff like that too. And so I have a couple that are in mind, and so I haven't really. I'm probably reach out sometime in November with both, just to kind of gauge it.
Yeah. That's cool. That's awesome.
I would say just keep working. Just keep working. When I see people like Matches Mac like still on the floor working, I'm just like, I'm not done yet. I'm not done yet. And he still calls like on his phone like when you make a purchase, it's him. That's
Really?
calling. Yeah. And so I would say the something that I took from him the last time I heard him on the phone was you can never bother me, and I was like, that's powerful.
That's
Like
cool.
you I would never be bothered. Like no
That's
matter
commitment.
Yeah, it don't matter what you have. Like give it to me. It's not gonna bother me. I'm never too busy. I'm never whatever it is. Like and so I kind of use that like throughout the day. Like whatever the situation is, it can never bother me. Whatever how long it may take, it can never like take away from my time and anything like that. And so and then keep reading.
Keep reading?
Yeah.
What are you reading right now?
Right now I'm reading Zig Ziglar's Better Than Good.
Okay.
And so he basically talks about approaching everything in like that kind of mindset. Like when someone asks you like, how are you doing? Like, better than good. And I've used it a few times, and it kind of put everyone's on hush. Like whoever's asking you, it's like, oh, okay, he's doing better than good. Like, and it leaves them thinking a little bit like, oh man, what does that mean?
It's
like,
a pattern interruption.
Yeah. And so yeah, it's been that I've been reading that. I just got done with You Owe You by Eric Thomas. And that book was really good actually. I didn't know what to expect from it because Eric Thomas is he's very loud, obnoxious. Like that's how he speaks. That's his motivation, right? And so I can only take so much of it. And so I was like, I wonder how he would sound if he wrote a book. And so when he wrote that book, I was just like, okay, like now I can really hear the messages from this book. Like I can really hear him rather than like listening to him on like a motivation video. And so that book was really, really good. It had a lot of leadership stuff in there. I think this switch this year was of course keep my clientele base growing, but also be a team leader and like really own that here at Space City. And so in the past, I've been a team leader based really by example. But the I guess the more we grow as a gym, the more that didn't really pan out. Like if I was an example, I was being an example to like no one. and so I took the like literally the route of like, okay, I'm still gonna be an example, but like now I'm gonna be more of a leader and show other trainers that we hire on how to basically be a six-figure trainer, like from ground up to managing like your clients and stuff. And so
that's awesome.
So yeah, that book really helped me do that.
That's cool. That's awesome. All right. Where can people find you online?
I am Laz_ the personal trainer. LAZ_ the personal trainer.
On Instagram.
On Instagram. You can find the same thing on TikTok. That's one avenue I haven't like tapped into yet.
You should. You make all the reels.
I know.
You could just
I know.
download and repost.
Yeah, and I should. It's like I have the same people that follow on TikTok, so I don't know how. Like, I'm trying to get over that hump.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, the same thing. Laz_ the personal trainer.
Yeah, and come visit Space City
Space
Gym.
City Gym is our handle for IG and everything else. Yeah. And so, but yeah, come out if anybody's in like the Humble area. Reach out to me or the gym. Come out and get your free workout in. I got you.
All right. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.